Hey, 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 welcome back to the Study English Online podcast, the place where real English meets real life, and where your English doesn't just grow, it actually goes somewhere. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Marcus, and if you are joining us for the first time today, welcome to the family. Seriously, we are so happy you are here.
And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. We have missed you. We genuinely have.
We were talking about you just the other day.
We were not.
We were not, but it sounded warm and welcoming, didn't it?
It really did. Okay, so today's episode, I want to say this carefully because I think today's topic is one of the most quietly painful things that a lot of people carry around every single day, and nobody really talks about it honestly.
Quietly painful. I like that. What are we talking about?
We are talking about overthinking.
Oh, okay. Yes, that one.
That one. The one that keeps people up at night, the one that turns a 5-second decision into a 45-minute internal debate, the one that replays conversations from 3 years ago at 2 a.m. like a movie that nobody asked to watch.
I am watching that movie right now, actually, in my head, as we speak.
See? This is exactly what we mean. And this is a B2 level episode, so the language will be a little richer, a little more layered, but still real, still natural, still something you can follow comfortably.
Yes, so don't stress if you don't catch every single word. Stay with us, let the meaning wash over you, and let your English grow naturally through the conversation. That is always the best way.
Absolutely. And at the end of the episode, we have a full vocabulary tour where we slow down and look at some of the most useful expressions from today's conversation. So stay with us until the end because that section is always one of the most practical.
It really is. Okay, and before we go any further, if this podcast is helping your English, if these conversations feel real and useful, and honestly like something you look forward to, please subscribe to Study English Online. Hit that like button and share this episode with someone who might need it today.
Because you never know who is one episode away from a small change that shifts everything. Okay, let's go.
So, Marcus, let me ask you something honest before we get into the topic.
Oh no, is this a trap?
A little.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
When is the last time you made a decision, a completely simple, small, everyday decision, without second-guessing yourself?
Define small.
Like, what to eat for lunch?
Oh, that is not small. That is actually a very complex philosophical question.
See, this is exactly the problem.
No, I'm being serious. You open the app, you see 47 options, you spend 20 minutes reading reviews for a sandwich, and then you order the same thing you always order anyway.
And then you wonder if you should have ordered the other thing.
Every single time, without fail.
And this is the trap. This is the overthinking trap. And what I find so interesting is people often think overthinking means you are careful, you are thorough, you care about getting things right.
Right, like on the surface, it looks like a good quality.
Exactly. But underneath, over time, it becomes something that quietly exhausts you, quietly shrinks your confidence, and quietly makes every part of life feel heavier than it needs to be.
Yes, and the word I want to use here is ruminate.
Oh, that is a rich word.
It is. To ruminate means to think deeply and repeatedly about something, usually something negative, often without reaching any useful conclusion, like a hamster on a wheel, moving constantly, going nowhere.
That image is painfully accurate, and I think that is what most people do not realize about overthinking. It feels like thinking. It feels like you're being productive, like you're solving something, but actually you're just spinning.
Yes, you're not solving, you're circling. There's a big difference. Solving moves forward. Circling just returns to the same point again and again, exhausting you each time.
And what makes it worse is that most overthinking is not about real present danger. It's about imagined future problems.
Exactly. The mind says, what if this goes wrong? What if they judge me? What if I fail? What if I said the wrong thing yesterday? What if this feeling never goes away?
All hypotheticals, none of them real, all of them exhausting.
And that's where so much mental energy disappears, not into real problems, into invented ones.
So let's talk about this seriously. Let's talk about where overthinking actually comes from, how it shows up in daily life, and most importantly, what you can realistically do about it.
Because we're not here to just name the problem and leave. We want to actually offer something useful.
Exactly. Something you can take away and use, not just inspiration that lasts 20 minutes and then fades.
Real tools, real language, real shifts. Okay, let's start at the beginning.
So where does overthinking come from? Because I don't think people choose it. Nobody wakes up and thinks, today I will waste 4 hours analyzing a conversation that ended last Tuesday.
No, but it happens anyway, and I think a lot of it comes down to one thing: uncertainty.
Say more.
The human brain, and this is actually fascinating, is designed to detect threat. It evolved over thousands of years to scan the environment, notice danger, and respond fast. That was very useful when the danger was a predator in the bushes.
Very useful then.
Extremely useful then. But now, the brain still runs the same program, except the danger is, did I sound weird in that meeting? Is my friend upset with me? Am I making the right career move? And the brain just keeps scanning, keeps looking for the threat, keeps preparing.
And it never finds a clean answer because social situations and future outcomes are genuinely uncertain, so the brain never stops.
Never stops. The loop stays open, and an open loop is the enemy of peace.
I love that phrase, an open loop.
And the more loops you have open, the more unresolved worries, the more unanswered questions, the more what-ifs floating around, the louder the mental noise becomes.
And the louder the noise, the harder it is to think clearly, act confidently, or rest properly.
Which is why overthinkers often feel tired even when they haven't done anything physically demanding. The exhaustion is mental. It's the cost of constantly running a program that never shuts off.
That's such a clear way to put it, the cost of a program that never shuts off.
And the worst part, the more tired you are, the worse the overthinking gets. It's a cycle.
A self-feeding cycle. Right. So what breaks it?
Okay, so first thing, and this might sound surprisingly simple, but bear with me, name it.
Name what?
The thought, the loop, the worry. Literally give it a name and say it out loud or write it down.
Why does that help?
Because there's actually very strong research behind this. When you name an emotion or a thought, you activate a different part of the brain, the rational part, and it slightly reduces the intensity of the thought. It's like turning the volume down by just acknowledging what's happening.
So instead of letting the thought just swirl around inside your head like fog,
you pull it out and look at it. I am worried that I said something wrong yesterday. That's it. That's the thought. Now you can see it. Now it's not just an invisible pressure, it's a specific sentence.
And specific things are easier to deal with than vague clouds.
Always. Vagueness is where anxiety lives. Clarity is where calm begins.
Oh, that is quotable. Write that down, listeners. Vagueness is where anxiety lives. Clarity is where calm begins.
And this connects to a phrase I want to introduce: get a handle on something.
Yes, to get a handle on something means to start understanding and controlling it. You can't get a handle on something you haven't even looked at properly.
Exactly. Naming the thought is the first step to getting a handle on it.
Okay, second idea, and this one I think will surprise people because it goes a little against the popular advice.
Ooh, I'd like a bit of controversy.
So, a lot of popular advice says, think positive, replace negative thoughts, look on the bright side.
Yes, very cheerful advice.
And I'm not saying positivity is bad, but for a true overthinker, trying to force positivity onto a worried thought often makes it worse.
Because the mind resists it?
Because the mind resists it. You tell yourself, everything is fine, I'm not worried, and the brain immediately goes, wait, are we worried? Let me check. Let me check again. Let me check a third time just to be sure.
Yes, the more you try to suppress a thought, the louder it gets. There's even a name for this, the white bear problem. If I tell you right now, do not think about a white bear.
I am thinking about a white bear.
Exactly. And it's the same with worries. Pushing them down doesn't make them disappear. It gives them energy.
So what works better?
Acknowledgement without judgment. Instead of, I shouldn't feel this way, try, I notice that I feel this way. It's okay. This feeling is not permanent.
And this is where the phrase come to terms with is perfect.
Yes, to come to terms with something means to gradually accept a difficult situation or feeling. Not to love it, not to pretend it is wonderful, but to stop fighting against it and allow it to exist without letting it take over.
Because fighting a feeling always costs more energy than acknowledging it.
Always. The resistance is more exhausting than the feeling itself. Third idea, and this one is very practical. Give yourself a thinking deadline.
A thinking deadline?
Yes. This sounds almost funny, but it genuinely works. When you notice you are going around in circles on a topic, give yourself a defined time to think about it, and then stop.
Like an actual time limit?
Like, I will think about this for 10 minutes. Then I will do something else. You write it down, you set a timer if you need to, and when the time is up, you move on.
And the brain accepts this?
Surprisingly, yes, because the reason overthinking loops are so powerful is partly that they feel open. They feel unfinished. But when you say, I have given this 10 minutes of honest thought, that is enough for now, you are closing the loop yourself. You are giving the mind permission to stop.
That is actually really clever. You're not ignoring the worry, you're acknowledging it, giving it time, and then saying, done.
And the phrase here is dwell on something.
Right. To dwell on something means to think or talk about something for too long, especially something unpleasant. And a thinking deadline is how you stop dwelling without pretending the thought doesn't exist.
Exactly. Thinking about something once, carefully, that is useful. Dwelling on it for hours without resolution, that's the trap.
Okay, fourth idea, and I think this one is going to resonate with a lot of people.
Go ahead.
So here's what I notice. The most intense overthinking happens in the gap between deciding to do something and actually doing it. That gap is where the mind runs wild.
Oh, that is so true. The moment you're about to send an email, about to make a call, about to start a project, that's when every possible version of "but what if" shows up.
But the moment you start, the moment you actually open the document or press send or pick up the phone, the overthinking usually shrinks immediately, almost instantly.
Because the action gives the mind something real to work with instead of imaginary scenarios.
Exactly. Overthinking loves a vacuum. Give it something real and it loses its power.
And this connects to a phrase, take the plunge.
Yes, to take the plunge means to finally do something important after hesitating for a long time. It's that moment of committing, of saying, okay, I'm going.
And what's beautiful about this phrase is that it involves a moment of discomfort, a plunge like into cold water. But the discomfort is brief, and what follows is usually relief.
Because action produces information. You do the thing, and now you know what happened. You're no longer imagining, you're dealing with reality.
And reality, even when it is hard, is always easier to handle than an unlimited imagination.
That is deeply true.
Fifth idea. And this one is about the body, not just the mind.
Ooh, yes, I love this one. So here's something that many people do not connect. Overthinking and physical tension are deeply linked.
When the mind is spinning, the body holds it. Tight shoulders, a clenched jaw, shallow breathing, a chest that never fully opens.
And what's interesting is that this works in both directions. The mind affects the body, yes, but the body also affects the mind.
So if you change what's happening in the body, you can actually change what's happening in the mind.
Yes, even something as simple as slowing your breathing, genuinely, consciously making each breath longer and slower, can signal to the nervous system that the threat is over, that it's safe to stop scanning.
That the alarm can switch off. Exactly. And this does not require a full yoga session or a spa day. Even 3 slow, deliberate breaths can create a tiny but real shift.
And the phrase I want to use here is, keep something at bay.
Yes, to keep something at bay means to prevent something harmful from coming too close or becoming too powerful. And physical grounding, breathing, moving, stepping outside, is one of the most direct ways to keep overthinking at bay.
Because the body is here, in the present moment, always. And the body is where overthinking cannot fully survive.
Overthinking lives in the past and the future. The body only knows now. So moving into the body is, in a very real sense, moving out of the trap. 8th idea, and this is maybe the deepest one. Not every question needs an answer right now.
That one lands differently.
Because so much of overthinking comes from a desperate need for certainty, for a final answer, for a guarantee that everything will be okay, that the decision was right, that the future is safe.
And the cruel truth is that certainty almost never comes.
Never fully. Life is uncertain. Other people are unpredictable. Outcomes are not in our control. And if your mind cannot rest until it has a guaranteed answer, it will never rest.
So the skill, and it is genuinely a skill, it takes practice, is learning to sit with not knowing.
Yes, to tolerate ambiguity, to be able to say, I don't know how this turns out, and that is okay. I can still move forward.
And the phrase here is, make peace with something.
Yes. To make peace with something means to accept a difficult reality or emotion. Not to love it, not to pretend it doesn't bother you, but to genuinely stop spending energy resisting what you cannot control.
And when you make peace with uncertainty, really make peace with it, something remarkable happens. The mental noise gets quieter, not because you have all the answers, but because you have stopped demanding them.
And that quiet, even a little of it, is where clear thinking, good decisions, and real rest can actually begin.
And finally, idea 9. And I want this one to be gentle, because I think sometimes we need someone to say this clearly and kindly.
I'm listening.
You are not your thoughts.
Say that again.
You are not your thoughts. The thoughts in your mind are events. They appear, they pass, they are not facts, and they are not you.
A dark thought appearing in your mind does not mean you are a dark person. A worried thought appearing does not mean something is actually wrong. A self-critical thought appearing does not mean the criticism is true.
Thoughts are visitors, not residents.
Thoughts are visitors, not residents.
Write that down, please. Frame it. Put it on your wall.
I might actually do that.
Because so much of the suffering that comes from overthinking is not just the thought itself, it is the identification with the thought. When you believe, I am this thought is me, this thought defines what is real and true, that is when it becomes controlling.
But when you can step back, even slightly, even imperfectly, and say, oh, there's that worried thought again. I see you. You are a thought. You are not a fact. Something shifts.
And the phrase here is, step back from something.
Yes. To step back from something means to gain a wider perspective, to emotionally or mentally create some distance. And this is perhaps the most important skill for any overthinker.
The ability to observe your thoughts rather than be swept away by them.
Because when you're inside the wave, it feels enormous and all-consuming. But when you step back just a little, you can see that it's just a wave. And waves, by their very nature, pass.
They always pass.
They always pass.
Okay, let's slow down now because we used some really beautiful, really useful language in today's conversation.
We did, and this is one of my favorite parts, because when you hear a word in a real conversation first, and then we slow down and look at it together, it just sticks so much better than learning from a list.
So, welcome to the vocabulary tour. Let's go.
First word, ruminate.
To ruminate means to think deeply and repeatedly about something, especially something negative, often without reaching a useful conclusion. It's like going over and over the same ground in your mind.
For example, she kept ruminating over the argument instead of letting it out.
Or, he had a habit of ruminating at night, which made sleeping very difficult.
Repeat, ruminate.
Ruminate.
Next, get a handle on something.
To get a handle on something means to begin to understand and control it. It suggests taking hold of a situation that previously felt out of control.
For example, once she named her fear, she finally started to get a handle on it.
Or, it took him a few weeks to get a handle on the new routine.
Repeat, get a handle on something.
Get a handle on something.
Next, come to terms with something.
To come to terms with something means to gradually accept a difficult reality or emotion. Not to love it, but to stop fighting against it internally.
For example, it took years, but she finally came to terms with the decision she made.
Or, coming to terms with uncertainty is one of the hardest but most freeing things a person can do.
Repeat, come to terms with something.
Come to terms with something.
Next, dwell on something.
To dwell on something means to keep thinking or talking about something for longer than is helpful, especially something unpleasant or difficult.
For example, there's no use dwelling on past mistakes. What matters is what you do now.
Or, she was trying not to dwell on the rejection, but it kept coming back.
Repeat, dwell on something.
Dwell on something.
Next, take the plunge.
To take the plunge means to finally commit to doing something important or risky after a long period of hesitation.
For example, he had been thinking about it for months, and finally he took the plunge and applied for the job.
Or, sometimes you can't overthink it forever. You just have to take the plunge.
Repeat, take the plunge.
Take the plunge.
Next, feed into something.
To feed into something means to contribute to it, to make it stronger or larger, often used when one thing causes another to grow.
For example, too much social media can feed into feelings of inadequacy and anxiety.
Or, poor sleep feeds into overthinking, and overthinking feeds into poor sleep. It becomes a cycle.
Repeat, feed into something.
Feed into something.
Next, get out of your head.
To get out of your head means to stop obsessing over your internal thoughts and reconnect with the present world and the people around you.
For example, going for a walk always helps me get out of my head when I'm overthinking.
Or, sometimes the best thing you can do is call a friend and get out of your head for a while.
Repeat, get out of your head.
Get out of your head.
Next, keep something at bay.
To keep something at bay means to prevent something harmful from getting too close or becoming too powerful. You're holding it back, not eliminating it, but managing it.
For example, regular exercise helps her keep anxiety at bay.
Or, a short breathing exercise can be enough to keep overthinking at bay in a stressful moment.
Repeat, keep something at bay.
Keep something at bay.
Next, make peace with something.
To make peace with something means to fully accept a difficult or uncomfortable reality and stop fighting it internally. It is a conscious, chosen release.
For example, he finally made peace with the fact that not everyone would understand his choices.
Or, making peace with uncertainty is not weakness. It is one of the most mature things a person can learn to do.
Repeat, make peace with something.
Make peace with something.
And finally, step back from something.
To step back from something means to gain a wider, calmer perspective, to create a little mental or emotional distance so you can see the situation more clearly.
For example, when emotions are running high, it helps to step back from the situation before responding.
Or she learned to step back from her thoughts and ask herself, is this a fact or is this just a fear?
Repeat. Step back from something.
Step back from something.
And those were your vocabulary tour expressions for today.
10 powerful, natural B2 level phrases, and every single one of them came out of a real conversation, so they do not feel abstract or disconnected. They feel alive.
Yes, and the best way to make them yours is simple. Choose one or two that really resonated with you today and use them this week, in a conversation, in your writing, even just in your thinking.
Because that is how language becomes part of you. Not through pressure, not through memorizing 100 things at once, but through small, real, repeated use.
One word used honestly 5 times is worth 100 words memorized and forgotten.
Okay, so let's bring it all together, because today wasn't really just an English lesson.
No, it was a conversation about something real, something a lot of us carry quietly and don't always talk about.
Overthinking is not a character flaw. It is not a sign that something is broken in you. It is a very human pattern that happens when a sensitive, intelligent mind meets an uncertain world.
But it doesn't have to run your life. With awareness, with small practical shifts, with a little more self-compassion, the loop can slow down, the noise can soften, and the mind can find, not silence maybe, but something much better than the spinning.
Space. Just a little more space to think clearly, breathe fully, and live presently.
And if one idea from today stays with you, just one, let that be enough. Because one small shift, held consistently, changes everything over time.
Slowly, honestly, kindly. That's how real change happens.
And before we say goodbye, we want to hear from you.
Yes, we always mean this. Leave us a comment and tell us, what is one thought your mind tends to loop on the most? Or which expression from today's vocabulary tour will you try to use this week?
You can keep it short and simple, or share a little more of your story. Every comment you leave builds this community, and this community, honestly, is one of the best parts of what we do.
And if today's episode added something to your day, a little peace, a little clarity, a little better English, please like this episode, subscribe to Study English Online, and share it with someone who might need to hear it.
Because you never know which person in your life is quietly trapped in the overthinking loop. And one conversation, one episode, one honest sentence can open a door they didn't even know was there.
This is Marcus.
And this is Sarah.
And you've been listening to Study English Online podcast.
We'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye for now.